Okay, so today is the 23rd, and you noticed that, you know, today I didn't do any topic for the day. And that is why things are going to be changing. They're going to be a changing times. They are a changing. Um, so yeah, I explained that in the live stream that is actually upcoming today at noon. So, without further ado, today we are looking at the history of Mexico City, and why can't I get my cursor to go? I really don't know. Come on, work for me. There. Boom! It takes reloading the page. Okay? Reload before I charter. Reload the page. It should work. Okay. So, let me zoom this for you to be able to see. And here's the deal. Isn't it boring to hear me read nonfiction and you can't even see what I'm reading if it's nonfiction? Oh, it's just my personal feelings of that's why it'll be a separate video from the podcast. So, tune in. Mexico City once a week. Mexico City history. Mexico City is a city of superlatives. It is both the oldest, founded in 1325, that breaks down to a 2, I believe, and the highest, 7,350 feet, metropolis on the North American continent, and with an estimated 22 million inhabitants, it's the most populous city in the Western Hemisphere. As the Gargantuan pyramids of Tenochtitlan attest, the area around Mexico City was occupied from early times by a great civilization, probably Mayan in origin. The founding farther south of the Aztec capital, Tenochtitlan, did not occur until more than 600 years after Teotihuacan was abandoned around 1850. Between three periods, from 900 to 12, the Toltec Empire controlled the Valley of Mexico. As the story goes, the nomadic Aztecs were searching for a promised land in which to settle. The prophecies announced that they would recognize the spot where they encountered an eagle perched on a prickly pear cactus and holding a snake in its beak. In 1325, the disputed date of Tenochtitlan's founding, they discovered this eagle in the Valley of Mexico, the image of which is now emblazoned on the national flag. They settled on what was then an island in Shadow Lake, Texcoco, and connected it to Lake Shore satellite towns by a network of calculators, canals, and causeways, now freeways. Even then, it was the largest city in the Western Hemisphere. According to historians, one of the three largest cities on Earth. When the first laid eyes on Tenochtitlan in the early 16th century, Spanish conquistador Hernán Cortés was dazzled by the glistening lustrine metropolis, which reminded him of Venice. A combination of factors made the Spanish conquest possible. Aztec Emperor Moctezuma II believed the white, the white bearded Cortez on horseback to be the mighty plummeted serpent god Quetzalcoatl, who, according to prophecy, was supposed to arrive from the east in the year 1519, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 7, to rule the land. Thus, Montezuma welcomed the foreigner with gifts of gold and palatial accommodations. In return, Cortez initiated a massacre. He was backed by a huge army of Indians from other settlements such as Cholula and Tlaxcala, who saw a chance to end their submission to the Aztec Empire. With these forces, the European tactile advantages of horses, firearms, and inadvertently the introduction of smallpox and the common cold. Not so good. Cortez succeeded in erasing Tenochtitlan only 2 centuries after it was founded. Where is it? Okay. Cortez began building the capital in what he patriotically dubbed the New Spain, the Spanish Empire's colony that was spread north to cover what is now the southern United States and south to Panama. Mexico comes from Mexico, pronounced Me-che-ca, which was the Aztecs' name for themselves. Aztec is the Spaniards' name for the Mexica at the site of Tenochtitlan's demolished ceremonial center. Now the 10-acre Zocalo. Cortez started building a church, the precursor of the impressive Metropolitan Cathedral, mansions, and government buildings. He utilized the slave labor and the artistry of the vanquished native Mexicans on top of the ruins of their city and using the rubble from it. They were forced to build what became the most European style in North America. But instead of having the random layout of contemporary medieval cities, it followed the grid pattern of the Aztecs. For much of the construction material from the Spaniards quarried the local porous, volcanic reddish stone called Tezontl. The Spaniards also drained the lakes, preferring the wheels and horses which they introduced to Mexico over camels and canoes for transport. The land-filled lake bed turned out to be a soggy support for the immense buildings that have been slowly sinking into it since they were built. The city flourished during the colonial period, filling what is now its historical center with architectural treasures. The Franciscans and Dominicans eagerly set about converting the Aztecs to Christianity, but some indigenous customs persisted. Street vending, for example, is a city signature even today, and it is said the conquering soldiers looked out on them in 1520 and said they had never seen such a market, not even in Rome. In 1571, the Spaniards estimated the Inquisition of New Spain and burned heretics at its palace headquarters, now a museum in Plaza de Santo Domingo. It took about 3 centuries for Mexicans to rise up successfully against Spain. The historic downturn stream, the 16th of September, commemorates the Declaration of Independence. On that date, in 1810, 9, 10, 1, Miguel Hidalgo, father of the Catholic Church and of a couple of legitimate daughters, rang a church bell and cried out his history-making grito, shout, death to the Georgians, wealthy Spaniards living in Mexico. Long live the Virgin of Guadalupe! Excommunicated and executed the following year. Hidalgo is one of many independence heroes who fostered a truly popular movement, culminating in Mexico's independence in 1821. The Liberty Bell that now hangs above the main entrance to the National Palace is rung on every eve of September 16th by the President of the Republic, who then shouts a revised version of the Patriots' cry, Viva Mexico! Flying in or out of Mexico City, you get an aerial view of the remaining part of Lake Texcoco on the eastern outskirts of the city. In daylight, you can notice the sprawling flatness of the 1,488 square km, Meseta de Valley of Mexico, completely surrounded by mountains. On its southeastern side, 2 usually snow-capped volcanoes, Popocatépetl and Ixpumatli, are both well over 17,000 feet high. After a period of relative tranquility, Popocatépetl, known as El Popo, awoke and began spewing smoke, ash, and some lava in the mid-1900s. It had remained intermittently active since then. Unfortunately, the single most widely known fact about Mexico City is that it is air polluted. There is no denying the smog and nightmarish traffic, but strict legislation in recent years has led to cleaner air, and especially after the summer rains, the city has some of the cleanest, bluest skies anywhere. If notoriously for song brings Los Angeles to mind, so might the fault line that runs through the valley. In 1985, a major earthquake, 8.1 on the Richter scale, took a tragic toll. The government reported 10,000 deaths, but locally it's said to be closer to 50,000. The last traces of that quake's damage have disappeared with the major renovation project in the capital's historic center, an overhaul which includes the application of the latest earthquake-resistant technology.